Imagine it is your wedding day in a great Italian city 600 years ago. You have invited your friends, your family, the people you love, and somewhere in the crowd, quietly counting heads, stands a city official whose entire job is to make sure you have not invited too many. Because in much of medieval Italy, the size of your guest list was not your decision, it was the laws. Invite one friend too many, serve one dish too rich, hand out one gift too generous, and you could be reported, fined, and shamed in front of the whole town. For 200 years, some of the richest cities in Europe treated a big, happy party as a crime. Welcome to Reason Found. Today we are tracing the strange history of the law that policed your friendships and the reasons hiding in plain sight. To understand how a wedding became a legal minefield, you have to know about a kind of law that spread across Italy from the late 1200s. Historians call them sumptuary laws, rules that dictated how much luxury ordinary people were allowed to display. Most of us, if we have heard of them at all, picture clothing, and clothes were certainly covered. But in Italy, the laws reached far past the wardrobe, straight into your private life, into the most important days you would ever celebrate. The scale is hard to overstate. Catherine Cavesi, a historian at the University of Melbourne, spent years mapping these rules, and in her study of Italian sumptuary law, she counts more than 300 separate statutes, passed across more than 40 cities. Venice, Florence, Bologna, Siena, Perugia, almost every major town had them, and almost every decade brought new ones. What worried lawmakers most was the celebration. A wedding, a baptism, a funeral. These were the moments when a family showed the whole community exactly how wealthy and important it was, and the cities decided that show had to be controlled. So they wrote it down. The statutes set how many guests you could invite, how many gifts could change hands, what could be served at the banquet, how many courses, even what time of day the event could begin and what music was allowed. Sit with what that means. A government deciding not what you could wear, but how many people you were allowed to have at your own daughter's wedding. The celebration that should have been yours had quietly become the city's business. And every family at the time must have asked the obvious question: why on earth would the state care how many friends sat at your table? The answer is stranger than simple killjoy morality. These cities were not mainly trying to stop people enjoying themselves. They were trying to protect themselves. Part of it was money, and not the family's money, but the city's. Florence in the 1340s had lived through catastrophic banking collapses, and its lawmakers grew preoccupied with what historians call the conservation of capital. Every florin a family poured into a lavish feast was a florin not invested in trade, not lent at interest, not left circulating in the economy. A ruinous party did not only bankrupt the family throwing it, it was seen as draining the lifeblood of the whole city. Part of it was rivalry. In a crowded city of merchants, every grand celebration was a challenge, a way of announcing we are richer and grander than you. That display bred envy and the bitter factional feuds that tore Italian cities apart. By capping the guests and the dishes, a government tried to cool the room, to stop families spending one another into the ground in an arms race of weddings. And part of it was marriage itself. As dowries climbed and celebrations swelled, weddings grew so expensive that fewer young people could afford to marry at all, so some cities limited the spending simply to keep marriage within reach. When you broke these rules, the punishment was rarely the dungeon, it was the purse. The fine landed on the head of the household, and in Venice paying it became so ordinary that people had a phrase for it: pagar la pompe, to pay for your pomp. Your celebration was taxed for being too good. And strange as all of this sounds, the instinct behind it has not gone anywhere. Because we still do this, we have simply stopped writing it into law. Think about the last wedding you helped plan. The first and most painful argument is almost always the same one those Italian families had: the guest list. Who makes the cut? How many people you can afford? Whether distant cousins get a +1. We agonize over it. We cut names. We apologize to the people left off. And the reason underneath is the very reason a medieval city wrote its statutes. A celebration costs money and sends a message, and both have limits. The state has mostly stepped back, but it has not vanished. Venues cap numbers. Families enforce unwritten rules about who must be invited and who must not. And within living memory, governments once again set a hard legal limit on how many people could gather in one room, and discovered just how fiercely people resent being told the size of their own celebration. The deeper pattern is the one this channel keeps running into. A society looks at how people show off wealth and status, decides that display is dangerous, and moves to control it. Medieval Italy used a law and a fine. We use a budget, a venue's capacity, and the quiet pressure of who you can and cannot leave off the list. The mechanism changed. The instinct to police the size and shine of a celebration is the same one that has been with us for 700 years. But the medieval version had one feature ours has lost, and it is the part of this story that should make you uneasy. The cities did not just write these laws. They built a machine to enforce them, and that machine ran on your neighbors. Policing a law about private parties is almost impossible if you rely on local officials, because local officials have friends, families, and bribes to weigh. The Italian cities understood this, and their solution was coldly practical. Several of them hired enforcers from outside the city, foreigners with no friends to shield and no neighbors to fear, paid specifically to police people they did not know. Florence kept a dedicated body of officials for the work, known informally as the officials of women, because so much of the law fell on what women wore and how families celebrated. Then came the part that set neighbor against neighbor. Cities, including Venice, Florence, and Perugia, installed secret denunciation boxes, public slots where anyone could drop the written name of a person they had seen breaking the law. No accusation to your face, no chance to explain, just a folded note slipped into a box by someone at your own feast, and a fine arriving at your door. Your guest list was not only capped, it was full of possible informers. Not everyone accepted it quietly. In 1453, when a cardinal forced a harsh new sumptuary law onto the city of Bologna, a noblewoman named Nicolosa Sanuti wrote a furious treatise demanding its repeal, arguing that if men won honor through public office and arms, women had every right to the adornments that were theirs. It stands as one of the earliest known defenses of a woman's right to dress exactly as she chose. So the next time you sit down to write a guest list and feel that small, familiar guilt over the names you have to cut, remember that you are wrestling with something very old. For 2 centuries, in the richest cities in Europe, the answer to how many people you could invite was written into law, watched over by foreign officials, and enforced by anonymous notes dropped into a box. A wedding too large, a feast too rich, a circle of friends simply too wide, all of it could cost you. We like to tell ourselves that a celebration is a private joy. History keeps reminding us that the people in power have rarely seen it that way. If this kind of story is what you enjoy, the ordinary thing with the extraordinary past, then you are in the right place. Thanks for watching. We will see you in the next one.